Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. It's Tuesday, September 30th, 7:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time, local time, here in Oklahoma City. I am leaving my house right now. See that tree? That thing's out there for big trash day. Whenever they installed the sidewalks several years ago, I can't remember when, they cut the root out of that tree. What do we got going on here? Just a second here. I think they want to cross the road. Come on, kids. Cross the road. Okay, never mind. Maybe they're playing baseball or something. Maybe they're not wanting to cross the road. They're just waiting for me to walk by or drive by so that they can... Yeah, they're playing some kind of game in the road. But yeah, they cut the roots out of the tree, and the tree's been dying. And then it eventually died a couple of years ago. And I didn't bother cutting it down. I just thought, you know what? We'll just wait for it to rot, and I'll just push it over. And that's what I did a couple of days ago. I've been checking on it like every month or two. And a couple of days ago, I went out there and the thing was rotted to the point where I was just able to push it over, and it fell over. And I just put it out along the edge of the yard for big trash day. We have big trash day every month where we can just put stuff alongside the road and they'll come by and pick it up. It is awesome. Like, it is the coolest thing ever. So what's going on with me? We're headed to where I pay to park the truck, which is like a 25-mile drive. It takes about 30 minutes to an hour to get there, depending on traffic. Right now, it should take 30 minutes. Why am I heading out to the truck? Am I heading back out over the road? No, I'm not. I'm dealing with drama with trailer utilization as per usual. Why am I constantly dealing with trailer utilization? Well, one, because I sit at home a lot. So, like, whenever I go out over the road, I go out over the road for 1 to 2 months. And then I come home for usually a minimum of like 2 weeks. 2 weeks to a month. Sometimes I've sat at home for 6 months. But trailer utilization has this policy of this idle policy. If you set for more than like 11 days idle without a load on you, then they will steal your trailer from you. And like, there are ways to like game the system, but I'm not the type of person that games the system. I'm not saying that I won't ever do it. But the way that they determine if you're idle is whether or not you have a freight bill assigned to you. So what I could do to avoid this drama is just like book a load that doesn't pick up for like a month and then cancel the load. As if you cancel the load outside of 24 hours, there's no penalty of any kind for that. And I think that's what a lot of people do to avoid trailer utilization, but I don't want to do that. Like, if I were an agent, I would get really pissed off if people were doing that to me, because that is threatening my accounts. That is like jeopardizing business with the customer, because you may not be able to cover that load at the last minute. But anyway, that's the main reason that I'm always dealing with trailer utilization, is because I sit at home for so long. And the other reasons are because trailer utilization does not understand what their job is. they're lazy, and they're incompetent. So what do I mean by they don't understand what their job is? I had a manager tell me, not today, I didn't talk with a manager today. When they told me they were taking the trailer from me, the only word I said to them was okay. They usually don't call. They usually just send an email and say that they're sending somebody to take the trailer, and that if my truck is still attached, then they're going to have a tow truck come out there and separate my truck, and they're going to charge me for it. That's usually what they do. But they actually called me this time, on top of sending the email. They're very passive aggressive. They're very confrontational, condescending, patronizing. But I had a manager in trailer utilization. The last time I escalated to a manager, told me that his job was to make sure that I utilized the trailer. His job was to make sure that the trucking companies partnered with Landstar are working. Now, I don't want to spend 4 hours explaining how ridiculous that is. If you don't understand how ridiculous that is, let me put it as simply as I can without spending like 4 hours explaining it. Trailer utilization's job is not to manage my company and make sure that I'm working hard enough. Their job is to find trailers that are not being utilized. Trailers that are abandoned. Remember when I was out at Geld Win waiting for that load, and I walked around and I made video of all of the trailers that were sitting there abandoned, not being used? I can't remember how many trailers there were at that customer. I think there were around 8 trailers that were broken. Just a second here. This is a busy intersection. And we're driving past the ghetto. Over to the right is one of the... it's what people call it is Liarwood. It is this massive, like, sprawling Section 8 apartment complexes. Like, it's crazy. You drive through there and it's just tons and tons of apartment complexes, and it's all Section 8. It's like one of the worst neighborhoods in town. But anyway, and I was told all of this by someone that I worked with that used to live there. He was always telling me Liarwood stories about, like, crazy stuff. Lots and lots of crime. But anyway, he, back onto the trailer utilization. So what trailer utilization is supposed to be doing is going out and finding those abandoned trailers that are broken down at customers, or trailers that customers are not using. Or trailers that, like, somebody terminated their contract and they just left a trailer at a truck stop or whatever, or trailers that are abandoned at shops. But trailer utilization does not do that. There is no one at Landstar that is out there trying to find all of those trailers that are basically abandoned, not being utilized by customers or trucking companies. Just a second here. There's some idiot flying by me, weaving through traffic. They're over on my left side right now. They were going really fast and weaving through traffic. They almost rear-ended me. But That's what trailer utilization is supposed to be doing, and they don't know that. Like, they think that they're... Okay, let me explain something to you. A manager told me this. This is not something I'm making up. A trailer utilization manager told me that the way that they find trailers, they don't look for trailers. They get a report every morning of idle trucks. And also, trailer maintenance will send them a list of trailers that they need moved out of shops. That's the only way that they get trailers. They don't actually go out and look for trailers. They're provided with a list of trailers. So there's no one out there looking for trailers. And trailer maintenance does not actively look for trailers. Their job is to work with shops and like negotiate prices for like parts and labor for working on trailers. They're not actively looking for trailers. The only time that they send trailers over to trailer utilization to get them moved is when like a shop tells them to get the damn trailer off their property. And sometimes they have to threaten legal action to get trailer maintenance to contact trailer utilization to move trailers. Like one of the trailers that trailer utilization sent me to pick up in Tulsa, this shop there had threatened legal action against Landstar for a trailer that had been sitting on their property for like over a year. So who knows how many hundreds or possibly thousands of Landstar trailers there are sitting around not being utilized. Trailer utilization does not understand what utilized means. I have a contract with Landstar that states that they get 7% of my revenue in exchange for letting me use their trailers. And trailer utilization keeps stealing the trailers from me. And as soon as they steal the trailer from me, I have to contact them and have them find me another trailer. And how do they find another trailer? They find somebody else that's sitting on home time, and they take the trailer from them. And it's this loop that they keep creating. It's just absolutely insane what they're doing. Who knows how many hundreds or thousands of trailers Landstar has sitting around that are just not being used at all because they don't have anyone at the company that is looking for trailers that are not being utilized. Landstar has lost almost half of its fleet size in the last couple of years. There should be an abundance of trailers. But because of the way trailer utilization does things, sorry, I was watching traffic. Because of the way trailer utilization does things, they just create this like loop. But I could rant and rave about this for hours. I could rant and rave about what trailer utilization should be doing and all that stuff. But let's move on to other things. What other kind of stuff is going on? What are you people doing? I don't think you're allowed to make a right on a red from an outside turn lane. When there's like multiple turn lanes, I don't think like the outside turn lanes can make rights on red. I could be wrong about that. I don't do it. So what all else is going on? All right, let's talk about, I don't think I've made a video since, I recorded my last day on that load. The like 43 stop, the 43 delivery, just a second here. the 43 delivery window load. But something happened. I can't remember what happened. I ended up not uploading the video. Like, I think it, like, my phone shut off or something through the video, and I was just like, I'm not gonna mess with it. So I ended up finishing the load early. I barely got it done Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before. I barely got it done. My last delivery was to a Lowe's in Grove, Oklahoma, and Lowe's shipping and receiving is 7 to 4. I got there at 3:30, somewhere around 3:30 to 3:45. Just a second here. People are getting their dumb on. Let's get out of this lane. So, yeah, barely finished the load on Wednesday, and then it was a lot further home than I thought it was. I barely made it home. I had like 15 minutes left on my 14-hour clock whenever I got home Wednesday night. Barely managed to make it home Wednesday night. So what are my final thoughts on the load? I don't plan on ever doing another one again. The load just, I need to get past this dump truck. There's just tons of crap coming off of that. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's just little rocks and stuff pelting my car. But I would consider doing another one of the loads that had a lot fewer stops, like maybe 10 stops. But the problem with that is that the only way that you make any decent money on that load is with all the stop pay, because the load only pays $1.40 a mile gross to the truck. It's $2 a mile. I get 65% of that, so it pays $1.40 a mile. So the mileage pay on the load was abysmal. All the pay was basically stop and unload pay. I did end up making more than I anticipated on the load for a few reasons. The load paid over $12,000 total on the full rate, like $12,200. And I estimated that after all the percentage cuts, I would make about $7,500. I ended up making around $8,200, about $700 more. Why did I make more money? Well, there were a few reasons. One, I got $300 of detention pay, or no, it's layover pay, for the 2 days that I sat there waiting on the load. Let's go ahead and take I-40. I normally take I-40. 240, there's just like, there's too many residentials along 240. There's just tons of traffic coming on and off of 240. So yeah, I got $300 of detention or layover pay, and I got 65% of that, so it was like $200. They added in more loads. So initially it was 38 stops, and then after I booked the load, they told me it was 42 stops. And then after I picked the load up, while I was like driving, they emailed me and said that there were 2 more stops on the load. So it was 44 total stops. Well, it ended up being 43, but they paid me for 44. I'm not going to argue with them. There's the Oklahoma City skyline. So, the extra stops and like a little bit of extra mileage. It's like 24 more miles or something like that. All of that totaled out to be a couple $100 more. I think it was actually like $300 more, $300 or $400 extra. And then another couple $100 came from the unload pay. I estimated that I was only going to get 65% of the unload pay, and I actually ended up getting 100% of the unload pay. There was $1,025 of unload pay, and I was estimating I was only going to get like $650 of that, and I got the full $1,025. So all of that together came out to where I made $8,200 gross to the truck on the load. And the load was originally scheduled to be like a 14-day load. The load was supposed to finish delivering Monday, and I finished it the previous Wednesday. So I finished it like 5 days early. So I was on the load for a total of, I think, 9 days for $8,200, which that's pretty good. What I try to make is $1,000 a day gross to the truck. If you can make $1,000 a day gross to the truck, you're doing pretty good. If you're making $500 a day gross to the truck, you're doing pretty bad. So I wasn't making $1,000 a day, but I made close to it. And I had like a day and a half off out of that 9 days because the places weren't open on the weekend. But I did do a half a day of deliveries on Sunday, so I worked half a day Sunday. So, I mean, if you think about it, maybe it was actually over $1,000 a day. So it ended up not being too bad of a load money-wise, but as far as work goes, it was way too much work. It was a lot of drama, and it was a tremendous amount of paperwork. I did the paperwork once I got home, and it took me probably about 8 hours to do all of the paperwork. It would have taken me 2 or 3 days to do the paperwork if I would have done it using my phone inside the truck. At home, using a scanner where you can feed in like 15 pages at a time, it took me like 8 hours. Now, I could have probably gotten it done in like 4 or 5 hours, but I wasn't busting my ass trying to get it done as quickly as possible. It took me like an hour just to sort through all of the paperwork and organize it, put all the pages in order and all that stuff. It was somewhere around 250 to 300 pages of paperwork. And I had to scan in all of that except 80 pages. It was like 86 pages that I did not have to scan in. No. 43 pages that I didn't have to scan at. I didn't have to scan in the carrier copies, the shipper copies of the bills of lading. I mailed the shipper copies of the bills of lading. I scanned in the carrier copies of the bills of lading. So it was like I know it was over 200 pages that I scanned in, because I found out that TransFlow has a maximum number of pages you can submit. It's 100 pages. I had to do 3 TransFlow submissions to send in all the paperwork to the agent. It was like 230, 240 pages that I had to send in to the agent. So yeah, the paperwork alone was a couple of days of work. Like this load was a nightmare. I don't think I'll ever do another one of these loads again. There was just a ton of drama with the load. And what's going on right now? What's the situation with me getting back out over the road? I only wanted to be home. Looks like there's a cop up here. Maybe it might be construction. In Oklahoma, construction runs reds and blues. Like everybody runs reds and blues in Oklahoma. All right, looks like that's actually on city streets. So it's been a week and a half that I've been home. Almost 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and get over in the right lane. I got an exit coming up. And I only wanted to be home for about 1 to 2 weeks. So what's the situation on getting back out over the road? Well, the reason that I didn't ask trailer utilization to let me keep the trailer is because I don't know when I'm going to be able to go back out over the road. I ordered all of the filters to do preventative maintenance on my APU and the truck. And I've gotten all the filters for the APU. I'm still waiting on the filters for the truck. Once I get them, I have to schedule an appointment with the shop to get the PM done. And I called the company I ordered the filters from today, and they told me that the reason they hadn't sent the filters out is because their website had been down for the last week. And they just fixed the website today, and they're going to be able to process the orders from the web today. And they did end up getting it processed. They sent me out the tracking number. I don't know how long it's going to take to get here. UPS doesn't give me an ETA until they actually get the package. Right now, they've just like printed out the label. UPS doesn't have the packages yet. So that's what we're waiting on to go back out over the road. So what else is going on with me? Well, I want to talk about my hobby. My hobby is video games. So if you're not interested in video games, I apologize. I've been addicted to video games since I was a little kid. So there was some really big news in some of the video games that I play recently. So in video games, there are what are known as private servers or emulators of certain games. It's typically online games. So take a game like Asheron's Call, for example. Asheron's Call was one of my very first MMORPGs that I got addicted to. You can only play that game online. And they shut the game down in like 2017. And the community got together. Just a second, somebody's just tailgating the shit out of me through this turn. I don't know what is wrong with people. Sorry, that's one of the most dangerous interchanges in Oklahoma City. So, there are lots of these private server communities, emulator communities, where the community's basically gotten together and reverse engineered the server. So you can connect to somebody's personal server that hosts the game. Now, there's a gray area on whether or not this stuff is legal. Now, there are private servers that are not emulating. They actually have stolen, like, server code. Those are definitely illegal. But what the drama is that one of the private server communities that's running off of a reverse engineered emulator that's completely written by the community. It's an EverQuest emulator, and it got so popular that they were making $100,000 a month in donations. They had over 10,000 people logged in at a time. It was one of the most popular EverQuest servers. It was more popular than a lot of the like retail servers. And Daybreak Games, the company that owns the rights to EverQuest, sued the people running that emulator. And that's been going on for like 3 or 4 months. And the people running the emulator were like, oh, we're going to negotiate a deal with, you know, Daybreak, and it's not a big deal. And then 3 days ago, they got an injunction. And they abruptly shut down everything. They deleted their Discord server and remade it. Several other EverQuest emulator servers shut down. The subreddit for EverQuest, the person that was moderating that, shut down the entire subreddit and made it private. The EQ2 emulator, which was still under development, it was barely playable, completely shut down all development. And a whole bunch of EverQuest emulator servers just shut down, deleted their Discords, deleted their websites, just tons of stuff. Well, that brings us into another game called Star Wars Galaxies, which is, oh, the gate's open, awesome. That's good and bad. I'm paying for secure parking, and the gate's just open. But, so that's the bad part. The good part is I don't have to get out of my car to open the gate. Star Wars Galaxies is another game that I was addicted to, and I still play Asheron's Call and Star Wars Galaxies and EverQuest. I still play all those games. I've been playing them for like 20 plus years. But we'll walk around for a minute while I wrap up what's going on. That should be a good spot right there. So let me try to get the phone out without stopping the recording. All right. Oh, my APU's running. So I want to walk over here. Oh, there's somebody hanging out. I want to walk over here and check Glenn's parking spots. Or maybe somebody isn't hanging out. Maybe that's somebody parked. Because I plan on putting the trailer in one of Glenn's spots. Maybe those aren't Glenn's spots. Maybe he's rented them out. All these spots over here should be just kind of like not rented to anyone. And we still have all these school buses here, hundreds. I don't know how many there are. I would suspect there's more than 100 school buses here. There's rows and rows. I don't know how many. There's like 4 or 5 rows of them. and they go as further than I can see down that direction. Glenn is making a killing on this parking lot. I'm sure that he gave them a hell of a deal. I'm sure they're not paying like $100. He charges $125 for a parking spot per month. I'm sure that, you know, they're not paying $125 per bus. They're probably paying like $25 a bus or something like that. But that's a lot of money just for those buses every month. So anyway, Star Wars Galaxies. I run a Star Wars Galaxies emulator server. I'm not a programmer or a coder or whatever you want to call it, but I know enough about programming that I can modify other people's code. So I have my own custom server that I've made a lot of modifications on. I've, you know, changed a whole bunch of the code. I completely changed the way the game plays. And I opened it up to the public, and there's not many people that play on the server because I don't advertise it. I don't want a lot of people playing on the server because I told people that this is just my personal server. I'm going to shut it down at any time. I'm just going to open it up to the public, so if you want to hang out with me, you can. So I did one advertisement when I first opened up the server, and I had 30 or 40 people that played on my server whenever it first launched. I have never advertised for the server since then, and it's been running for over 2 years. So now there's only like 2 or 3 people that play on the server, and people come and go all the time. But I don't want to advertise for the server because I told everybody, you know, this is not something that I'm gonna keep running forever. So yeah, there's not many people that play on it, but Star Wars Galaxies, the intellectual property rights are partly owned by Daybreak Games, the same company that owns the rights to EverQuest and is suing the EverQuest emulator community. So I sent out an announcement to my server today explaining to everybody what's going on in the EverQuest emulator community with Daybreak Games, and told them that I might be shutting down this server. I told them all I'm 90% certain that I'm going to shut this server down, but I'm going to give it a couple of days to think about it. Because, like, the risk is just too high. I don't even play on the server anymore. I just keep it up for other people. I've never made a penny off of it. I refuse to accept any kind of donations or anything for the server. So I don't really benefit from the server in any way. But now there's a really big threat that I could suffer legal action from Daybreak Games. They are like on a lawsuit. Like I don't know what's going on with their legal stuff, but they have not been bothering the emulator community for like 20 years. And then all of a sudden, now they've gotten very aggressive because they've lost a lot of money. Part of their lawsuit is them saying that these private servers have negatively affected their revenue. And they're showing how there's large numbers of people playing on the emulators at the same time that they're getting big reductions in the players on their servers. And the server that started all this, called The Hero's Journey, it's a really nice server. I played on it. It's got some really cool custom stuff on it. But the people running it are greedy. And they are just absolute scum. They have a lot of stuff that you can buy that's like pay to win, where you can get like faster character advancement and stuff like that. Like, one of the things that they sell are world buffs. You can pay money for these really overpowered buffs for the entire server. And that server has those world buffs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't know how much they cost because I've never bought them, but there's tons of other things that you can purchase as well. And I knew they were making quite a bit of money, but I didn't realize how much they were making. The news articles that are coming out are saying that they're making $100,000 a month profit off the server. That is crazy. So, anyway, that's what's going on with the video game. What else is there before I wrap up the video? What I've got to do in the trailer is I have got to get in there and get all the straps out. There's over 40 straps in the trailer. I got one of the places I delivered to give me a box to put the straps in. And I put a bunch of the straps in the box, but I haven't put all of them in there yet. So I got to go in there and gather up all the straps, put them in the box, put them in my car, bring them home. And I've also got that spare window. What in the hell? That is new. Somebody hit me while I was parked here. Or is it new? This trailer had a whole... I made a video about this. I made a video about all of the damage on the trailer and how it was like at this weird like angle like this, and you see marks going all up and down the trailer. I didn't think it was that bad though. I don't remember it being that bad. That's a pretty big gash back there. And that looks fairly new. Maybe it's the other side of the trailer that had all those marks on it. Yeah, this has got a bunch of marks down the side of it too. But let's see here. Turn on the light. There we go. Yeah, I'm not seeing... This has some straight line marks on it. But, all right, let me turn the light off before it kills the battery. Yeah, maybe that's not new. Maybe that's not fresh. I just don't remember it being that big of a gash in the trailer. I made a video about this weird, like, I was asking people, how in the hell does that happen? How do you get something at that angle? There are marks down the entire trailer. It was like this when I picked it up, but there were marks down the entire trailer that are in that same like pattern. I don't know what happened down the side of the trailer to cause that. You can see it all the way down to here. I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, but like here's a really defined one that goes from here, and it's going at that same angle all the way across there. How in the hell does that even happen? But yeah, I need to get in there and clean out the stuff out of the trailer. I'm just going to take that window home with me. I have no idea what in the hell I'm going to do with that window. I thought about contacting the agent and asking them what to do with the window, but that would have opened up a huge can of worms. They would have contacted the customer, the shipper, and the shipper would have been like, oh, have them bring it over to this location over here that's like 100 miles out of route. Go drive around for a couple hundred miles for this window that cost us $25 to make, that they sell for $120. It's a little window. It's probably not even that expensive. I looked at their windows in Home Depot, and they're the bargain windows. They're the cheap windows. Like, their really big windows were like $300 something. The little bitty ones, this window is probably like $60, $70. And they would have probably wanted me to go do some crazy stuff, and they would not have compensated me properly for it. So I just didn't even want to open up that can of worms. I would rather throw it in the trash than deal with all that, because it's not a missing window. Topeka, I talked about this, I think, in previous videos. Topeka signed that they received all of their windows. They didn't check everything correctly. It was my biggest delivery, 37 windows. And they ended up taking windows from some other places because they weren't checking stuff, and I wasn't checking stuff. I assumed that they were checking stuff, so I wasn't double checking them. I was checking everything that I was taking off, and I assumed that they were checking everything that they were taking off, but they weren't. So they ended up taking some windows that were supposed to go to Lawrence. So Lawrence was 2 windows short, and they left one of their windows in the trailer. So that's the extra window I have in there right now. So I'll take that to the house with me with all the straps. I don't know what in the hell I'm going to do with the straps. I have more straps than I'm ever going to need. I probably have like 16 straps in the truck already. Maybe not that many, probably closer to 12. I think I have about 12 straps. I had like a box of 10 straps, and then I had a couple extra on top of that. 2 to 4 extra on top of that. So I have like 12 to 14 straps in the truck. And the most I've ever used was that hazardous waste load that I took from Seattle to Williston, North Dakota, because they wanted me to build a strap wall. They said that was normal. We do that all the time. We build strap walls all the time. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's a thing, and I'm not sure that that's even legal. And they're like, no, yeah, it's perfectly fine. You guys do it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm those guys that you say do it all the time, and I've never even heard of this. I'm quite certain that it is not legal. I've had people tell me, oh yeah, it's normal, it's legal. So here's the thing on why I doubt. I don't trust things people tell me, because there's a lot of people out there that confidently state things that are wrong. So why do I think the strap wall is not legal? Well, you might sit there and think, well, if you count up the total load-bearing capacity of the straps, and you look at FMCSA regulations on, how much load-bearing there has to be for forward or backward movement, side-to-side movement and all that stuff, then it's legal. Well, here's the problem. I don't doubt that the straps can keep 36,000 pounds of hazardous waste from sliding forward. I don't doubt that you can put enough straps in there that the straps will not snap. What I doubt are the E-tracks. I can put straps from ceiling to floor along those E-tracks But those E-tracks can only bear so much. Those E-tracks are not load bearing. They're just meant to kind of hold things in place. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that strap walls are not technically legal. Because those E-tracks could not stop 36,000 pounds from going forward if I ever had to slam on my brakes. All those straps would just rip out of the wall and all that stuff would slide forward. But the straps wouldn't break. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. So anyway, what's going on? Yeah, I just need to get all that crap out of the trailer, move the trailer over here somewhere. Where am I going to put it? You know what I might actually do? Because there's not really an open spot right here, and I don't want to block anything in. Glenn is using up all of his parking. See, all these trucks right here, they say Star Pipe Services on them. That's his company that he had to shut down because of Sarah, the girl that used to work here. She wasn't doing her job. She wasn't, holy crap, just a second here. The light was still on. Sorry, that was killing the battery. I just realized it was still on. Sarah was the front office person. She took phone calls, and apparently she had a big list of things that she was supposed to do as part of her job. She was supposed to collect payments from people, that were parking here, and she was supposed to be filing paperwork. I don't know if she was supposed to be doing their taxes or what the exact situation was, but there was something that she was supposed to be doing that involved their taxes. I really doubt that she was doing their taxes for them, because she's not like an accountant or anything like that. But she was supposed to be submitting some kind of paperwork for their taxes, and she wasn't doing it. And she also wasn't collecting payments for parking. So they weren't getting anywhere near the revenue they were supposed to be getting from the parking because she wasn't collecting payments. Like they thought that they were getting, I don't know how much money, like $10,000 a month for parking. And they weren't getting anywhere close to that because she wasn't collecting payments from a lot of people. And she also wasn't submitting something for their taxes. And then the IRS came after them. And that's when they found out about all this stuff. They started looking into what she was supposed to be doing and found out she wasn't doing anything. And they owed a few years in back taxes. And I don't know how many years in back taxes they owed. And they found out that they weren't making anywhere near as much money. Like, I don't know how you can be so absent-minded with your business that for years, like, you're not checking the revenue. Like, you're not checking the money in your bank and making sure it all adds up. Like, that's a business owner that's really disconnected from their business. But they almost went completely out of business. They almost had to shut down everything here. They ended up shutting down their oil field pipe company and I think a couple of their other businesses. But they kept the shop open, the parking open, and they also have a trucking company. They kept all that open. But I think if I put the trailer over here on the left side of this gravel, I don't think anybody parks over there. I can just put it right over here in this general area. And that shouldn't bother anybody. hardly any trucks here right now. And I think it's mainly because RXO or XPO or whatever the XO that they go by, I think they rent out most of these spots. And I think a lot of their drivers do overnight stuff. So that's probably why all these spots are empty right now. There's a ton of empty spots around here. I noticed that there's a lot of other parking lots that have opened up. There's a ton of truck parking in this area now. There's like 2 other huge parking lots across the street from this one that opened up. And I've been thinking about switching over to them instead of this place because of the drama with the parking spots and also the drama with the shop. I've had some really negative experiences the last 3 or 4 times I've been in the shop. They've overcharged me by significant amounts, and they have broken a lot of stuff. They've caused a lot of damage. Like the last time I was in there, they worked on the APU for less than 2 hours, and they charged me 7 hours of labor. My bill was over $900, and the owner, Glenn, saw the bill and knocked $200 off because he said that was way too high. But even at $700, that was way too high. I'm still pissed off about that. And then that same time I was in there that they overcharged me, they wired the compressor wrong on the APU, and it nearly caught my truck on fire. It melted a whole bunch of wires. Luckily, I caught it pretty quick, but like the compressor got extremely hot, almost caught the truck on fire. I was in the truck at the time. I could have died. And it seized the compressor, which costs over $4,000 just for the part to replace, with labor and the cost of disposing of coolant and charging the system up with new coolant and all that stuff. It's probably $5,000 to $6,000 to replace that compressor. And then the parking lot drama, I have a big dent in the hood of my car from one of these, I'm pretty sure it's one of these RXO drivers, was using my parking spot as a trash dump, and they threw a pallet into my spot, and it landed on the hood of my car and put a dent in it. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? And the trash from my spot, when I checked last time I was here, the trash was still in my old parking spot. I told them I wanted to move away from the RXO drivers because of the issues, because I was pretty sure that it was the RXO drivers. But yeah, it looks like this crap is still over here in my old spot. Yep, there are the 3 tires. Yeah, 3 tires and the pallet. C8. This is my old spot. So whoever is now parking in C8 has moved all the crap over into C7. What a good guy. And multiple times I've been told that they're going to come out here and clean this shit up. Before I requested to move out of this spot, when there was only 2 tires there, one of the people that works here, Joe, I called and talked to him about it, and he said they would come out here and clean it up. They never did. Then, when I told Glenn Sr., the owner, Glenn owns part of the businesses. His dad, Glenn Sr., owns part of the businesses. Glenn Sr. owns the parking. When I told Glenn Sr. I wanted to move over to another spot because of that crap, he said, just leave it there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'm not cleaning that shit up. He said, just leave it there and move over to the other spot, and we'll take care of it. We'll get it cleaned up. It's still sitting there. I don't want to deal with another place, but I might end up parking somewhere else. I'm already paid through the end of this year. I pay 4 months in advance. They really like me here because they said there's only like 2 or 3 of us that have always paid on time, and we actually pay in advance. There's just like 2 or 3 of us that pay like a couple of months in advance. He said that he has payment issues with almost everyone that parks here. Almost everyone that parks here, he has to message them and be like, hey, you haven't paid for this month yet. Just a second here, I hear something squealing. Well, it's coming from over here. I thought it was the belt on my APU, or I thought maybe somebody was trying to break into my car. But it sounded kind of like a squealing belt. Hello? Maybe somebody's APU is trying to kick on, or maybe there's some animal being eaten over here. I don't hear it anymore. Huh. It was pretty loud. Like it sounded kind of like a belt, a squeaky belt. But to give you an idea of how loud it was, the APU is running on my truck, which is like a lawnmower engine, and I was on the other side of my truck, and I could hear that from all the way over here somewhere. I don't know where exactly it's coming from, but it's this direction somewhere. Now I don't hear it anymore. All right, I should wrap up the video and get this taken care of and get back to the house. And now I just gotta wait on the filters. Whenever the filters get in, then I need to call up these folks and negotiate with them on how much I'm gonna pay for the PM on the APU and the truck. And aside from the PM, there's one other thing that I'm gonna want them to do, which is not part of a normal PM, and that's to change the coolant filter on the truck. Okay, so first of all, the coolant filter is, according to Volvo, they recommend replacing it every 150,000 miles. I've owned the truck. When I bought the truck, it had 450,000 miles on it. It now has over 600,000 miles on it. It's got like 610,000 miles on it. I've never changed the coolant filter, so it's been at least 150,000 miles. And the previous owner, I doubt that they ever change the coolant filter. The coolant filter on this truck is probably the original one. And if you remember, I used to have a coolant leak. And I put in some coolant stop leak stuff. And the coolant leak stopped. Now I have a second issue where I'm losing coolant, but I don't think it's a leak. If the truck sits here, not running, I don't lose any coolant. It's only when the engine is running that I lose coolant. And it appears that it's only when the engine is at high temperature that I lose coolant. So whenever there's a lot of pressure in the system. And one of the things that I noticed was the truck is sucking the coolant down. Like if if the engine gets really hot, like I've been out, I just, went up a mountain and I stopped the truck after the engine's been really hot, and I get out and I look at the coolant reservoir, it will suck the coolant reservoir down really low. It sucked it down so low that it actually triggered a low coolant alarm when I was climbing a mountain. And I was like, crap, I gotta put some coolant in. So I waited for it to cool off for a couple of minutes, and then I opened up the cap and I was gonna put some coolant in, and the coolant level went all the way back up to full. So I think what's going on is that crap that I put in there, that stop leak, I think it has clogged up the filter. And the engine is like sucking the coolant or pushing the coolant to that filter and pulling it out of the reservoir, and it's not, circulating back around. And then whenever I relieve pressure by opening up the cap, it's backflowing. So that's the reason, aside from, the coolant filter's overdue to be replaced. That's the other reason that I want to replace the coolant filter, is because I think that is, I think the filter's clogged up with all that stop leak that I put in. I didn't even know that there was a coolant filter whenever I put that stop leak in. I wouldn't have even used that stop leak stuff had I known there was a filter. Or at least I would have done it differently. There is a filter like bypass valve, but everything that I've read online says that the O-ring on that thing fails very quickly. So they say after the truck has like 100,000 miles on it, never ever use that cutoff valve, that bypass valve, because it'll start leaking and you'll have to replace that O-ring, which is apparently a pain in the ass to replace. So whenever we replace the coolant filter, we're just going to let the coolant run out. We're not going to use the bypass valve. That's what it's there for. It's there for whenever you replace the filter, you turn that valve to where the coolant bypasses the filter. That way coolant doesn't leak everywhere. But we're just going to let it leak everywhere so we don't have to replace that O-ring. So that's the one other thing that I'm going to ask them to do, is replace that coolant filter while they're doing the PM. So all of the filters, what did they cost me? The filters for the APU cost me somewhere around $60 for all of the filters, and that's all of the filters. Fuel filter, oil filter, air filter, and also an inline fuel filter. And then the filters for the truck, including the coolant filter, cost me like $120. It was like $110 plus like $25 shipping, plus like $10 tax. So it cost me like $135, $140 total with shipping and tax and everything. And that is it has 3 oil filters. It has a bypass oil filter, which I have no idea what in the world that is. And then it has 2 regular oil filters. And they are huge filters. High capacity, high flow rate filters. Then it has those 3 oil filters. Then it has a fuel filter. Then it has the fuel water separator. Those are all of the filters for just a regular PM. And then on top of that, I also bought the coolant filter. The coolant filter is the reason that I ordered from this one specific place, because the coolant filter was really expensive at almost every place. The cheapest place was $60 for just the coolant filter, and the prices went up from there. Some places were selling the coolant filter for like $150. The place I ordered all these filters from was selling the coolant filter for $15. Now you may be sitting there thinking, oh, well, you got your money's worth. You bought some cheap, aftermarket oil, coolant filter that is just going to fail on you and it's just a piece of crap. No, I didn't. It is the exact same coolant filter that all the other places were selling. It's Donaldson brand, and it was the exact same coolant filter at all of the places, the exact same part number. And the prices were just all over the place. So this place was selling that exact same coolant filter for like $14. So some of their other filters were a little bit more expensive than other places, but basically putting everything together, the place I ordered from had the overall cheapest total price, including shipping and taxes and the prices for all the filters and everything. The place I ordered from is TZ Parts. I think it's Truck Zone Parts or something like that. It's like tzparts.com. But so I'm just waiting on those to come in, and then I need to negotiate with these guys and see how much they're going to charge me to do the labor and how much they're going to charge for oil and grease, because I'm not going to go buy oil. They get oil at a discount buying it in bulk, and grease isn't that big of a deal. So I'm hoping that they're going to do it for like somewhere in the ballpark of $200 labor. I've had every single one of my PMs done here, and what they generally charge me every single time to do a PM on both the APU and the truck is around $420. That's for parts, labor, everything. Around $420. So what it's costing me for all of the parts is, say, $140 plus $60, $200. So if they do all of the labor plus oil and grease for $200, then it'll end up costing me about the same as every other PM I've ever had done. And we're using, from what I've read, top of the line filters. All of the filters that I bought for the APU and the truck are Fleet Guard, which from what I read are the Cummins brand filters. Now, a couple of the filters were not available in Fleet Guard, and those I got the Donaldson brand, which appear, based on my research, they appear to be the like OEM brand, because Volvo doesn't actually make filters. They just buy filters from somebody else and they slap the Volvo logo on it. They just rebrand other people's stuff. And I think Donaldson is the filters that like Carrier and Volvo get their their filters from. But anyway, that's what's going on with me. So let's wrap up this video, and I'm gonna get in there and do work on the trailer, and then head back to the house and sit around and wait for the delivery. Look how shiny the car is. The very first thing I did whenever I got home was wash the car. What time is it? 8:30. I was just sitting there thinking, you know what? I could get Panda Express on the way home. I think Panda Express closes at 10 though. I don't like ordering at places right before they close. You know what? If I hurry, I can get there probably, I can get all this done in like 10 minutes. Maybe, oh, you know, I need to move the trailer. Maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I need to check and see when Panda Express closes. Maybe I'll swing by Panda Express on the way home. Anyway, let's wrap up this video. I might do a load board video at some point. Who knows? We'll see. So, have a good one. And I'm still sitting at the house until I get the PM done, and then I have to find a trailer again. And that's a lot of drama, finding a trailer to either look for a, what do they call it? An SOS load, where somebody basically broke down and they need somebody to recover the load and deliver it. That's one way to get a trailer. Or you have to go through trailer utilization, and they're usually going to tell you that you need to drive to Montana to get a trailer. You know, drive 800 miles to go get a trailer at 65 cents a mile. And trailer utilization, the last time that they were looking for a trailer for me, they ended up not finding a trailer for me. I ended up doing an SOS load because they took so long, and they were telling me to like drive to Denver to get a trailer. I'm like, I'm not deadheading 700 miles to Denver for a trailer. You're wanting me to drive 700 miles into a bad market. Like, that's just like losing money on top of losing money. And somebody's rolling in. And I think I got one headlight. Yeah, it's a truck with one headlight. You're gonna slow it down, buddy. Speed limit's 5 miles an hour. Just tearing ass through here. Just stirring up a lot of dirt and dust. But, what the hell was I saying? Talking about SOS loads and stuff like that. But yeah, I just gave up and I got an SOS load. So anyway, yeah, that's what I've got to look forward to, is dealing with drama with them, finding a trailer. But let's get this wrapped up, and I might be able to get out of here in time to get some Panda Express. That'll be something good. Yay. Teriyaki chicken is awesome. Used to be the orange chicken is what I always got until I tried teriyaki chicken. And I was like, okay, that grilled chicken is, oh my goodness. It is amazing. So anyway, have a good one. Bye.